Well, hey there. It's Monday and time for Monday Mastery. We're live at 6:01 and I'm Rick Sodebeer, author and dating coach, and I'm here to help guide you through the trials and tribulations of dating and relationships. And it's been a crazy day today. It's just my day started. I just woke up at 1 o'clock and couldn't get back to sleep this morning, so I started working and I worked till about 2:30 or 3, I guess, and then laid back down for a couple of hours and got back up again, and you know I was just I and it's been a long day of projects and moving things forward, and that's been exciting for me, and that's I like that forward movement in projects. So anyway, I hope you guys had a great week last week and a wonderful weekend. It's the beginning of the county fair season up here, and we had a county fair about 15 miles from here that I attended briefly, and we've got another one coming up locally here in Ironwood. And so I haven't been to that one in years. I haven't been to a county fair in probably 4 or 5 years, and it's just they haven't changed much other than the people that are there and some of the things that you see are pretty cool. But it's always fun to go and look at the baked goods and the plants and the vegetables and the things that people have pulled from their gardens. So it's getting to be that time of year. And I don't know if I mentioned last time. Hey Lisa, thanks for joining in. Glad to see you're here. I don't know if I mentioned last week when I was on the air, but when I came back up from Kansas City on my last trip, I started to notice just a little bit of yellowing in the trees all the way from Des Moines, which is just unheard of. And I don't know whether that's because of stress or a dry atmosphere that the trees are going through, or if it's an indication that we've got a long winter coming. I don't know, but there's a couple of trees up here already that are showing a significant amount of color, and it's not all trees. It's just some of the early turners, I guess. The trees that uh, habitually turn a little bit early. And some of these are maples, and typically they don't turn this early, but they are. I'm starting to see a lot of color, and even starting to see some leaves drop from some particular trees. But anyway, so that's something that's making me a little bit nervous. I'm planning on leaving here about October 1st and heading back down to Kansas City, and that means, am I going to have 6 weeks of colder than normal temperatures? The forecast doesn't show it, but anyway, the it's starting to weigh on my mind heavily, and I am looking forward to heading south again. So anyway, over the past week, I've been thinking about some of the things that we've been talking about, and I talk a lot about the must-have and deal breaker lists and why they are so important. And one of the lists that I don't talk about very often is the what do you bring to the table list, or what makes you extraordinary as a partner. And so I wanted to talk about that because I was in a coaching session with a client this past week, and this is one of the subjects that came up. And it's none of us generally likes to turn inward and talk about ourselves. We don't like to share about ourselves, or to sound like we're bragging, or as we're coming across as vain or self-centered, or Hey, Kathy, thanks for joining in. Glad to see you're here. We tend to, and I think it's part of the way most of us are raised, and it's our particular society that we're taught that we shouldn't talk about ourselves. It's vain. It's inappropriate. It's self-centered and selfish, and when in fact it really isn't. Because if you think about our conversations, conversation with your friends, you're sharing information about you. You're sharing things that are going on in your life. You're sharing, what's happened. You're sharing about family. When you meet somebody new, especially in the dating world, you start sharing gradually. And I say intimate details. I'm talking about, how many children you have, what you like, what you don't like, what you've done in your life, what vacations you've enjoyed, where you've traveled, what you've done for an occupation. And these are all things that are important to share. And these are things that you should have written down, just like you do with your must have and your deal breaker list. And the reason you want to do this is because ultimately you may end up filling out an online profile. And there's nothing harder than trying to sit there and figure out what to say. If you have these things pre-written, if you have your list of things that you'd like to say, and I'll use me for an example. I'm a snow skier. I'm a sailor. I am a full-time RVer. I'm a Christian. I'm a conservative. Whatever it is, and these are the things and that's just scratching the surface. So we need to think about what we want to share with people. And this isn't just for online profiles. This is for the conversations we have when we meet for the first time, our meet and greet, or our coffee or cocktails, whatever you want to call it. These are important things to have tucked away. What was your favorite vacation? What are the things that you do? And one of the things that I've taught over the years is that we need to continually improve ourselves. Our lives should be, as Tony Robbins puts it, constant and never ending. Let's see, how does he put it? It's something to the effect of constant and never ending improvement. And it's something that we all need to strive for. And it's not that hard. When I first learned the concept, I thought, oh my gosh, reading book after book after book after book, studying this, studying that, but it's not necessarily just reading books. It's not necessarily studying topics. It's not necessarily taking golf lessons or shooting lessons. I mean, those can be some of the offshoots of it. We can, as one of my students likes to tease me, I like to talk about dancing because I know ladies generally like to dance. You guys, learn how to dance. Go take some dance lessons. But it's over and above things that you can do to physically or mentally improve yourself. From going to the gym to studying other topics that fascinate you. Where do you go? What are some of the things that you do? Where was your last vacation? Where's the last road trip you took? What are some of the things that you enjoy when you're out and about? Do you enjoy antiquing? Do you enjoy archery? What are these things that are important to you or that you'd like to try? Pottery, painting. These are all experiences. What when you go on a trip, what are the things that you do? What are some of the experiences that you have? Do you go to Hoover Dam? Do you go to Sturgis, the motorcycle rally? From what I'm told, I've never been, but from what I'm told, that's an experience that most everybody should try once. And have you gone zip lining? Is that something that you've tried? There are so many things, and you all can post in the chat, things that you've done, things that you'd like to try, places you'd like to go. Have you been to the Smoky Mountains? Have you been to the Outer Banks on the East Coast? Have you been to Catalina Island? What are some of the things that you've done? Have you been to Mexico? Have you been to Canada? There are a lot of different things that you can do, and it's not so much that you even have to take big trips. You can do a lot of little things. There are probably a couple of dozen different things, little trips, little things that you can do in any area that you visit, and it doesn't need to take a major excursion or a major trip to do. I know within probably 10 or 15 miles, there are a lot of unique little places that I can visit up here. And I know there's the same thing in the Kansas City area. I know there's the same things in Oklahoma, Lisa, and Tennessee, and wherever you are, there are things to do. You just have to find them. And how does that round your personality? How does that round out your background and your ability to hold a conversation? How does that add to, how does your excursions or how does your adventures add to a conversation about, oh my gosh, Lisa, I don't know if I could ever jump out of an airplane. That's so brave of you. And it's something that, Lisa, I'm just picking on you because your name is there, and I don't know that you've ever jumped out of an airplane, but those are things that can spur on a conversation, and they can say, well, what's on your bucket list? What are the things that you'd like to do? These are great conversation starters. These are things that open up the gamut to having a much deeper conversation, rather than, hey, it's great weather today and it's nice to take a bike ride, or I took a bike ride this afternoon. What are some of these things that you, and simple things, there's some friends of mine took, her daughter took a bike trip across Iowa, and I think it's called the Ragbray or something along that line. Don't hold me to that, but there are. Lisa says, no jumping for me. I understand. That while it's on my bucket list, I'd rather be flying the airplane than jumping out of it. But I think it would be an adventure, and it might be a one-time thing. But there are, again, what are the things that you can do to enhance your life, to enhance your background? And these are simple things that can make you a more, and I'm not talking physically attractive, but a more attractive conversationalist. These are things that can help you expand the conversation or extend the conversation, or say, that would be a fun thing to do. Why don't we try that? Or, I've done that and it scared the bejesus out of me, but I'd love to do it again. Or, oh, that was a one and done for me. And it can, all of these things, in the past, I've talked about golfing and shooting and dancing but what are some of the little things, are you a flea marketer or a garage sailor? These are all things that you can bring to the table. These are all things that you can add to your, I don't know that I want to call it a resume, but these are all things that you can add to your list of things that you've done in your life, or things interests that you have. And it rather than trying to scrounge around in your mind saying, oh, what do I like to do? These are things that you should have written down, just like your must-haves and your deal breakers. These are the things that I like to do. These are my passions. These are the things that I like to do in my free time. And they may not be passions. They just may be things you like to do for just no brain activities, things that you can do to unwind. And it's like a friend of mine and I, he and I built a lot of block walls around his parking lot and around his driveway, and spots is made like 100-foot planter in front of his office. And we did this for therapy. That's what we called therapy, because we were there just working with each other. It was good physical exercise. It was brutal work, because these blocks were about 70 pounds. And could I do it today? No. This was a 15-year ago project. Would I attempt it again? Absolutely. It would take me a little while to get back into it, but the thing is, the idea is what can you do to expand your horizons? And these are things that you can add to your list or to your resume, that of things that you've done, places that you've gone, and books that you've read, movies that you've watched. And it doesn't always have to be some earth-shattering or life-changing event that makes you attractive. And we all have to do these things. I mean, it's a matter of getting up and doing these things so that number one, you enjoy life. And I never want to encourage you to do these things just to do them, just to add them to your list of things that you've done. Do them because you enjoy them. Do them because you're fascinated by them. Or it's something new, and you may do it and say, yeah, that was a waste of time. Or, yeah, I'll never do that again. So what are the things that you would like to do? And you guys can post in the chat here and share some of the things that you've done, or some of the things that you'd love to do. It's all about this segment. The what I bring to the table is all about the things that you've done, the things that you like to do, the things that you want to do, the what makes you you. And this is something that we don't like to talk about. It's something that I guess it's kind of bred into us that we don't like to talk about ourselves. And in some respects, that's a societal thing that is actually toxic for creating relationships. Some of us take that to a huge extreme and try to bury ourselves, and we'll do anything not to talk about ourselves. We'll do anything to get the other person to talk about themselves. But we have to share. When you're trying to get to know somebody, and when you're learning about somebody, you both have to share what's important to you, what you like, what you don't like. And so it's you have to step back and say, okay, what is it about me that that I that that's attractive? What are the things that I like to do? And what most of us are looking for somebody that's similar to us. We want somebody to have similar morals and values. We want somebody with a similar sense of humor. We'd like somebody that um, likes to do some of the things that we like to do. I mean, last week we talked about getting. Lisa said, let me pop this up here real quickly. Lisa says parasailing and snorkeling are fun. Well, see, parasailing, and you wouldn't want to jump out of an airplane. You go parasailing. um, it's the same basic principle, Lisa. Uh, it's just one you're tethered, and the other you're not. And then there's that bit of the fall before your chute opens. I get that. And so, and hey, that just gave me an idea that I might want to go parasailing first to feel what it's like to be floating in the air, and then go skydiving. So I mean that could be an option too. But you can look at things like that. Anyway, last week I was talking about how getting Lisa says not the same. Now I understand. Hey Sharon, thanks for joining in. Yes, I'm doing well. Hope you are too. Anyway, last week I was talking about getting rid of some of the roadblocks, some of the hurdles. When you start figuring out the things that you like and the things that you don't like, that will help you start identifying some of those roadblocks that maybe in your way. And by identifying the things that you like and the things that you don't like up front, that makes it easier to start talking to people and saying and recognizing much more quickly whether somebody's worth pursuing further or whether they're not. Because the whole idea of dating is to get to know people, get to share what you like, get to share what you don't like, and I start identifying the characteristics that will bring you together, and identifying the characteristics that will keep you apart. And that's why it's so important to not only have your must have and your deal breaker list, but also to be able to share what makes you an awesome person. It's what are the things that make you you. And I probably need to reframe that or retitle that, but it's just, what is it that makes you you? You have to know those things, or you should know those things, so that you can easily share those and not make it a brutal, dragged out conversation trying to figure out what's important to you. And we all go through phases of life that from time to time, as things change, for those of you that are widowed, especially early on being widowed, that it's hard to know what you want, because you had everything set up and all of a sudden your mate is gone, and now you're left trying to figure out, number one, who you are, and then trying to figure out what you want to do. How is your life has changed. And this goes for divorcees too. I think it's a little more intense, maybe even a little more brutal for widows or widowers, that look at starting over, because it was never their intention to start over. When you're divorced, there was generally some tension involved and some rocky times, and you have some better times to look forward to, hopefully. And so you're coming at being single from a different perspective. Same coin, just different sides. So it's important to be able to step back and say, okay, this is who I am. And whether you're divorced or widowed or maybe never been married, it's still important to understand who you are and to understand those characteristics that make you who you are. Did you have a tough childhood? And how does that play into your life today? And are there things that need to be worked on there? That's not uncommon. And a lot of us have gone through very brutal divorces, and it takes time to recover from some of that stuff. If it was a physically or verbally or mentally abusive relationship, that can take quite a while. It can take even therapy or counseling to move past that. So those are things that we all have to understand about ourselves. We have to know when is the right time to look at dating again. When is it a good time for us to step back into the dating world? And when we do, we need to be prepared. We need to be mentally prepared. We need to be emotionally prepared, because dating, quite frankly, is a lot different today than it was 20 or 30 years ago. I know when I was first going through my divorce and starting to look online and explore the possibility of dating again, it was just attitudes. And even in the last 10 or 12 years, there's been a big shift of attitudes from, and this is from my perspective, ladies, that ladies went from, well, let's get to know each other, texting back and forth for a month or so before we try to talk, and then let's see where it goes from there. To now, I don't to now this is what I'm hearing, is that I don't want to spend months texting. If we can't at least get to a phone call or a video chat in a week or so, then this probably isn't a good relationship for us. So there's so many aspects of all of this that has changed, and you need to be prepared to step into that world. And I know a lot of you are already there, but some of you watching may not be, and some that watch later may not be, and need to hear some of this stuff. And I may be preaching to the choir to some of you that you've already done these things and you've already mastered these things, but it's even the masters always continued to practice. They always reviewed what they were doing. They always went back and looked to see if what they're doing is effective. Am I asking the right questions when I meet somebody? Is my personality turning somebody off? Is my personality too harsh for somebody? Do I need to dial it back? And I hesitate to say that because that sounds like I'm suggesting that maybe you need to change your personality. No, I mean, unless unless you have a very caustic sense of humor, unless you have a very caustic personality where everything is a criticism, then yeah, you probably need to make some changes, because you will turn off more people than you attract. And the whole idea is to be able to attract new people to you. And when you have a broader base of things to talk about, a broader base of things to share with others, you become automatically more conversational. You automatically become somebody that's more attractive to the type of person that you're looking for. And that's one of the reasons that I continually say that you number one, you have to know who you are. You have to know what makes you tick, but you also have to be willing to explore. You have to be willing to try new things, and whatever. And again, it doesn't have to be big expensive trips. It doesn't have to be a cruise to Alaska. It doesn't have to be a cruise um, to the Bahamas. It can be, just a walk on the beach someplace. And it could be on, Lake of the Ozarks. Although there's not a lot of beach, there's a little bit of beach. It could be, it could be a walk on the beach on Lake Superior. I know some of you travel up here, or some folks travel up here, and you can spend a little time on the beaches. You can go for tour boat cruises, and you can do that in a lot of different places. So it's a matter of wherever you are, find the things that interest you. There's in Missouri, there are a lot of wine tours. In California, there are a lot of wine tours. And I know that throughout the country, more and more, there are areas that are developing wineries, and so you can sample different wines if that's your fancy. Microbreweries are another big thing. I've watched a friend on Facebook. She's traveled around a little bit, and trying all these different little microbreweries. If that's your fancy, then do it and try it and see what you think. Uh, but you don't have to sit at home waiting for somebody to find you. And again, doing these things, it can be gardening. If you're going to be at home, you can garden. But then you go out, and you can go to the various garden stores, or the the greenhouses. Go to the various greenhouses, and you can interact with people there, and have great conversations. You can go to horticultural events in your area. So there's any number of things that you can do to broaden your knowledge, to broaden who you are, and especially if it's your passion. And to be able to grow in that passion, but also be flexible to discover new passions, or new likes, or new things. And I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm assuming it's Hong. Says she likes to be alone, don't want conflict anymore. Well, and that's fine. But that guarantees that you'll be alone. And if being alone is what you choose, that's perfectly all right. And we're all different. We can all choose to go in different directions. We can choose our different lifestyles. What I'm sharing here is how to get out and be more social, not to be at home and be alone. There's always going to be conflicts, and I can't say that you're always going to have a disagreement with somebody. It's just the way life is. We're not all alike. We're not all cut from the same cloth. It's a matter of of being able to find those people that you fit with. And if you're continually finding that you're in conflict with somebody, or with people, then it's probably time to look at the type of people that you're associating with, or the type of people that you're attracted to, or seem to be attracted to, because there's a lot of issues there that are or can be self-inflicted. So, and I appreciate your comment. And like I said, uh, dating and being social is not for everyone. Although, if you want to have somebody in your life, it's something you have to do. It's something you have to continue to improve on. And we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to say things that and I'll raise my hand. I've been in situations that, I've walked away red-faced. I've said something dumb that it sounded really funny or really intelligent in my head. And the minute it came out of my mouth, it was like, oh, trying to reel that one back in because it didn't come out right. And we all go through that. That's part of the human experience. We all need to learn to accept that that's going to happen. And I just had one of those incidents just the other day that I was having a conversation with somebody I had just met, and I said something off the cuff, and it was a little racy, and it wasn't something that I would expect to normally say to a woman that early in a conversation, but it came out. And it was just immediately, I'm trying to reel it back in. And the thing is, she started to laugh. She thought it was hysterical. So, and it was a way for us to break the ice in some respects in our senses of humor. And, sometimes that's the way we discover. We make mistakes. We slip up in conversations. None of us is perfect. None of us is going to be right all of the time. If you want to be in a relationship that you're right all of the time, then don't expect to be happy. Don't expect to be in love, because you're going to suck the life or the joy out of that relationship. There's a saying that you can be right, or you can be happy, or you can be in love, either one. And there's so much truth to that. You have to be able to sometimes just say, okay, this is not a hill that I want to die on, or this is not an argument that I want to perpetuate. Sometimes you just have to, and assuming that it's a reasonably smaller argument. If it's an argument or a disagreement about morals and values, well, then you need to step back and say, hey, is this the relationship that I want to be in? Are these the morals and values of that I want in the person that I love? So those are great opportunities, great learning opportunities. And it doesn't necessarily make the other person a bad person. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that you may not be right for each other. And early on, this is what these conversations are all about. And in being able to share things about yourself, and to some extent, you do need to watch what you share with other people, because there are things that can be, some information that can be misused, and you don't want to share that information early on. You don't want to you don't want to share bank. You don't want to start sharing money. Early on. Loaning money to, said, oh, I need to borrow. I've got business problems. I've got these problems. These are medical bills and yada, yada, yada. And I've got some legal bills. And, if they start coming to you for money, that should be a huge red flag that, and all I've got that's red is this feather duster. That should be a huge red flag that starts waving in front of your face, that should be a warning sign. There was a friend of mine had posted something on Facebook, and shortly after she posted it, somebody posted to say, you're such a wonderful person. I've looked at a lot of stuff on your profile, and I've I can't, Facebook won't let me friend you, or I've tried friending you on, uh, or would you friend me? This is, I've tried, but it won't let me. So could you send me a friend request? And I knew immediately what it was, and I popped open his profile, and it shows this really handsome guy, and probably in his late 50s, early 60s, just fit and just very attractive. And what is his occupation? He's an offshore oil rig worker. Oh, you talk about two strikes right off the bat. And because that's one of the occupations that a lot of scammers will use, is that they're an offshore oil rig worker, or they're in the ministry, or they're working, they've got a ministry overseas, and they're what there's another one. Oh, another one is the military. They're overseas. They're stationed overseas. And there are so many people, that fall for this, that in maybe it's me. Maybe I just have a little higher level of discernment than others. I've been browsing through profiles, ladies' profiles lately, and every once in a while I will find one that will say she's in her early to mid 60s, and she has the face of a 30-year-old, or there's no pictures of her face, just pictures of her from behind, and long flowing hair, looks like Oriental, wherever the setting is, and or it could be in the Philippines, or someplace tropical, let's put it that way. And it's just these are dead ringers for scams. And I mean, it should be, these are the types of things that should say, yeah, these are the profiles that need to be reported. But unfortunately, they walk a very fine line in creating their profile and say, yeah, there's nothing technically wrong here, even though it may be a scam. It doesn't do anything to violate our policies. So, but those are some of the things. If somebody says they're living overseas, they're in the military, and please, anybody that's involved with the military, I'm not condemning the military. It's just there are scammers that use military, being stationed overseas in the military, as a way to avoid meeting people. Working on an oil rig. My bank account is. You'll get the story that after a couple of months that my bank account has been frozen, and I don't have access to my assets. Can you wire me some money? Can you transfer some? What is it? The Apple the Apple Pay cards, whatever, or whatever cash cards that you can buy at Walmart. These are all things that end up as scams. And you as somebody on the dating scene, or in the dating world, you have to make yourself aware of these things. You have to spend time, and I encourage everybody from time to time to go in and see what the latest scams are. What are the latest ploys to suck people out of their to remove money from people's pockets, to have people send money to them. This is a multi-billion-dollar worldwide industry. Just the last numbers that I looked at, probably 3 or 4 months ago, the Federal Trade Commission said that there have been more than half $500 million in in fraudulent crime or fraudulent events, romance scams last year. And it's crazy. But it's so many people get sucked in, and how they track you or how they define you, ladies, especially widows and widowers, but more widows, when they see widow on your profile, you become a target. And especially if you haven't been widowed long, you can be a very easy target. So you have to be careful. You have to look at what you're putting in your profile. Another thing is, look at the words that you use in your profile. When you're writing your profile, make sure that you're using words that attract the right people and that repel the wrong people. And you can just Google the words, because that list changes every so often, and the algorithms change every so often, and it's important to make sure that you're using some words that draw in the right responses and repel the wrong responses. And to that end, if you're struggling with your online profile, drop me a note. I'd be happy to take a look at it. I've helped several people just go through their profile, and generally within an hour, if you send me all the information or the links, I can take a look at it, and I can look at the pictures. I can tell you what pictures to use, what pictures to replace. I can tell you how to rearrange your profile so that it reads better, so that the average person looking at it can make more sense of it and can be more easily attracted. One of my coaching students literally took the information that I sent to her and put that up on, or adjusted her online profile, and automatically, or within a couple of days, started getting better quality of suitors. She started getting better quality profiles to see. People the men that were reaching out to her were more of what she was looking for. And I didn't use anything that she wasn't already saying. It was just how it was said, and it was the pictures she used. So anyway, if that's, if any of you are interested in that, just drop me a note, and I'd be more than happy. And it's no charge. I'll just take a look at your profile, and it doesn't take me long to do. And I can give you input on what are the things that you need to update, upgrade, or to remove. So anyway, with that, why don't we call it a day? I want to thank you all for all of your comments and for tuning in today. We'll be back next next Monday, for Monday Mastery, and I don't know what the subject will be. I wasn't sure until about an hour before tonight's topic. I was just wrapped up in other things. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed tonight, and thank you for all your input. I look forward to seeing you all next week, 6 o'clock right here for Monday Mastery. And I'm Rick Soderbeer, author and dating coach. You have a great and blessed week. I love you guys, and have a good evening.